It's my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Bartholomew Mosse, our founder. Mosse was a physician who accomplished his dream, and indeed it's because of his drive and energy that we see the Rotunda Hospital for the institution it is today. So what do we know of Mosse? Let me take you on a journey which we consider to be Mosse's story. It's one of compassion for the poor of Dublin slums and his personal determination to provide care for the poor women of Dublin. His biography is inextricably interwoven with the social history of Dublin of the time. Life in 18th century Dublin was destitution for the majority versus extreme wealth and privilege enjoyed by the moneyed few. Let's have a look at 18th century Dublin. Society was changing and Dublin was experiencing massive growth. The post-potato famine of 1740 saw Dublin swamped by destitute refugees from the countryside. Birthing conditions were primitive and housing was overcrowded and disease-ridden. Large numbers of women died routinely in labour, and infant mortality was high. Bartholomew Mosse was born in 1712 in Portlaoise, the fifth child of Reverend Thomas Mosse, rector of the Church of Ireland in Maryborough, now Portlaoise. Mosse married Elizabeth Mann in 1734 when he was 22, and they had a son, Michael, in 1737. Tragically, Elizabeth and Michael both died some months after, and no trace was ever found of where they were buried. So, Mosse's legacy to Dublin is without question the Rotunda, known as the Lying-in Hospital, which he opened in 1745 in South Great George's Street. This was the first purpose-built maternity hospital in the world. Mosse also had a pioneering role in advancing midwifery training and practice. He himself became a man midwife in 1742 and established a school for the training of midwives and doctors. In doing so, he raised the profile of midwives in general. He was able to do this as he was an accomplished surgeon from a socially acceptable family with a distinguished record of achievement. There were many facets to Dr. Mosse. Let me take you on a journey of the man's main attributes. He was a deeply religious man with a strong social conscience. It is said that the experience of loss of his wife and infant son gave him the drive to improve the practice of midwifery and to establish a maternity hospital in Dublin. It is quoted as saying he wished to create an institution where babies could be safely delivered and surgeons trained in the art of midwifery. He was a man who disregarded convention and at times risked his own reputation and personal fortune. He also risked hostility and jealousy from his peers. It's not easy to be a different type of clinician, a different type of man. He was the envy of his enemies who sought to taint his name through false imprisonment, defamation of character, and personal penury. Through risk-taking, Mosse secures the opening of his first maternity hospital, and this fitted historically very well with the voluntary hospital movement in Dublin. As I said previously, in 1745, he opened the first hospital in George's Lane, but it very quickly became unfit for purpose. Thus, Mosse sought a suitable site for his second hospital and sought to actively fundraise for the project. In 1748, we are told that Mosse leased 4 acres and 1 rood plantation measure on the north of Great Britain Street, as we know it now, Parnell Square. He saw it as an opportunity to mix his love of the fine arts with his plan for the new maternity hospital. Mosse the man, a member of the gentry, a respecter of the arts. He held a unique position in society, affirmed his relationship with notable craftsmen and artists. He socialised widely, forming ties and friendships with these craftsmen. One of these was the architect Robert Castles, whose work included Carton House, Clanwilliam and Leinster House. He sought patronage to promote the success of his charitable schemes. It is said he wooed the gentry, and indeed he did. And he did so in order to raise funds to build the new hospital. One of Mosse's promotional activities was the design of the pleasure gardens within the Rotunda. These were modelled on the London Vauxhall Gardens. Mosse wasn't content with just delivering clinical services in his hospital, but he sought also to create a magnificent chapel, and it's at the centre of the hospital to this day. Mosse opened the second hospital on the Parnell Square site in 1757. He was the first master and notably was appointed for the duration of his life. In order to ensure ongoing financial support, however, he was asked to ensure completion of the project and to secure future funding. Thus, the Royal Charter was agreed. The Charter raised the status of the hospital from a small charitable institution to a national institution. It was granted by King George on the 2nd of December 1756. Mosse had a short tenure due to his premature death in 1759. He was just 47 years old, and it was 1 year after the opening of his beloved hospital. He had sacrificed his health and personal fortune and died heavily in debt. His tomb in Donnybrook Cemetery was not discovered until 1988. In 1995, on the 250th anniversary of the founding of the hospital, his descendant, Bartholomew Mosse, had a memorial stone placed in his memory. His greater memorial, however, is the hospital itself, where over 8,000 babies are delivered annually, and it is currently recognised as a centre of excellence for midwifery and obstetrics. I would like to leave you with a quote from Benjamin Higgins, his friend and colleague. It sums up the essence of the man. Thus died a great and good man in the prime of his life and usefulness. His eulogy is to be found in his acts. He lived for one great object of providing for women in their greatest hour of trial, and died poor as to wealth, but rich in the blessings of the needy and those that were ready to perish. Thank you.